All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive. We're going to be tackling some really cool research on trust and honesty in kids.
Yeah?
Specifically, this 2024 article from Nature Human Behavior that, well, let me tell you, it's not just kids' stuff.
Oh, no, not at all.
Really eye-opening stuff.
It really is, yeah.
This,
It flips the script on, kind of what we thought we knew, right? Like, we've always been told honesty leads to trust.
Right.
But this research really takes a deep dive into, well, a much trickier question.
Okay.
Does trust actually lead to more honesty?
Whoa, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So, to really test this out,
Mm-hmm.
the researchers decided to zero in on kindergartners, which I thought was interesting. Why kindergarten?
Well, 5 and 6-year-olds, they're kind of in this perfect sweet spot.
Okay.
They're old enough to, grasp concepts like trust and honesty.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have this, this tendency to, well, let's just say they cheat about half the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
But it's like this perfect scientific sweet spot. You can really see how trust might be, nudging them one way or another.
Yeah. So how do you even go about testing something like that?
You read a bunch of kindergartners.
Yeah.
Well, that's where this is the really clever part. The researchers created this really neat setup
Okay.
using a scenario that, well, any kindergartner knows. Taking a test in another room.
Oh, yeah. The classic one-at-a-time test.
Exactly. So picture this. The experimenter's getting ready to take the kids for a math test.
Mm-hmm.
And they casually ask some of the kids to help carry things.
Oh, smart.
Yeah.
Playing on that inherent helpfulness.
Yeah. And what the kids don't know is that they're being divided into two groups. The trusted and the not so trusted.
Okay. I'm hooked. So walk me through, how they actually measured honesty.
Right.
In these little test takers.
All right. So in the first study, they really wanted to crank up that trust factor. So some of the kids were asked to hold on to get the answer key.
Oh, wow.
To the test.
It's a temptation. Did they just hand it over and, cross their fingers?
Well, not exactly. The experimenter really emphasized her trust in the child, both before and after giving them the answer key. Even saying things like, "I trust you not to peek."
Ooh, the pressure. So did they crack these little guardians of the answer key?
Here's the thing. The kids who were entrusted with the answer key, they actually cheated significantly less.
What? No way.
Than those who weren't given that responsibility.
So just being told, hey, we trust you, actually made them more honest.
It really seemed that way.
Wow.
But of course, the researchers had to be sure it wasn't just the helping part, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they were just feeling good about being helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do you untangle that, the trust part from the helping part?
Right. So they designed a whole series of studies
Yep.
to isolate those effects. For example, in the second study, they switched up what the kids were asked to help with.
Okay.
Instead of the answer key, it was something totally unrelated to the test.
Oh.
The experimenter's house keys.
So if it was just about the helping,
Yeah.
you'd think the same lower cheating rates, right?
Exactly.
Whether it's house keys or answer key.
But guess what? Even with this change, those kids who were told they were trusted,
Yeah.
they still cheated less.
So that pretty much rules out the idea that it was just about helping.
Right. Okay, wow. And to really nail it down, they did a third study where they kept the house key thing.
Okay.
But this time they took out the don't cheat part of the message.
Oh, interesting. So they're testing, is it just that feeling of trust?
Exactly.
Even without the direct link to the cheating.
And you know what? The results were pretty wild. Even without that direct message, those kids still cheated less.
So the takeaway is simply expressing trust, particularly when it's linked to helping, that has a powerful effect. Yeah.
Even if it's not directly related to the temptation at hand.
You got it. These first three studies, they really show the power of trust to shape behavior. Even those little ones.
Yeah.
It's not about avoiding punishment or, seeking rewards.
Yeah.
It's about living up to those expectations that come with being trusted.
Interesting. So, okay, we've seen that being told they're trusted, it actually makes these kids less likely to cheat.
Right.
But that leaves me wondering, why? What is the magic at play here?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the study doesn't give us, a definitive answer to the why. It does give us, some clues.
Okay.
Remember how we were talking about that idea? Honesty leads to trust.
Right.
Well, this study kind of suggests that maybe the reverse could also be true.
Okay.
trust might actually lead to more honesty.
So it's like this two-way street, like this
Yeah.
virtuous cycle.
A virtuous cycle of trust and honesty.
I like that. Yeah, and you know what? The researchers, they even have a name for this idea.
Oh, okay.
They call it the reciprocity hypothesis.
Okay.
Basically means that when someone trusts us, we feel this obligation to be trustworthy in return.
So it's like we don't want to let down the person who has put their faith in us, right?
Exactly.
Especially when that trust involves like helping them out with something.
Right. It's like this mini social contract.
Yeah.
You know, you trust me to help you with this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to prove I'm worthy of that trust by being honest.
Wow. It's fascinating how these researchers captured like these complex social dynamics
I know.
in such a simple experiment with kindergartners.
Amazing, huh?
But let's go back to those last two studies.
Yeah.
You mentioned they were kind of designed to like push the boundaries of this trust effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were.
What did they find?
Okay, so in the fourth study, they wanted to see what would happen. If they told kids they were trusted not to cheat, but without that helping element.
Oh, interesting. So no fetching house keys or anything, just pure trust.
Pure, unadulterated trust.
Oh, okay.
And surprisingly this time, no significant effect.
Mm-hmm.
Simply telling the child they were trusted, to be honest, wasn't enough to, like, change their behavior.
So it seems like it really is that combination of trust and helping.
It really does, yeah.
That makes the difference.
Okay. And then, you know, that fifth study, that adds another layer to this.
Okay.
Remember how in those earlier studies, the trust message, it always came from the same person who was giving the test?
Right.
Well, in this study, they brought in a second experimenter.
Oh, interesting.
So 2 adults, 2 different roles. One is the truster asking for help. The other one's the tester giving the math test.
Okay.
So the question was, did the kids generalize that feeling of trust?
Right. To the other adult.
Even though they hadn't said anything about trusting them.
Yeah.
And nope, they didn't.
Really?
Lower cheating rates were only observed when the children were interacting with that original truster.
Huh.
The one who had asked for their help and said, I trust you.
So even at that young age, they're already kind of like discerning who they trust?
They're developing what researchers call selective trust.
Okay.
That ability to like figure out who has earned their trust and who hasn't.
Wow.
And this actually fits with a lot of research on how kids develop those social smarts.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? These 5- and 6-year-olds, they're already navigating like
I know.
these complex social calculations and adjusting their behavior.
I know, right?
Okay, so we've talked a lot about this specific study.
Yeah.
But let's like zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
What do these findings tell us about the bigger picture?
Well, that's where things get really exciting. Because if simple acts of trust can have such a profound impact, right? On young children's honesty.
Yeah.
Imagine the potential for fostering ethical behavior in adults.
I mean, we're talking about everything, right? From like workplace dynamics to like political systems to like global cooperation.
Exactly. This research, it gives us like this really compelling argument for the importance of cultivating a culture of trust at all levels of society.
But building that kind of trust, that requires a real shift, right? In our thinking. We have to move away from this like default assumption that people are just like inherently self-serving and dishonest.
Yeah. We got to start with the belief that most people, given the right environment, they want to do the right thing. And it's about more than just words, though, right? We need to create systems and structures that actually support and encourage ethical behavior.
So instead of just focusing on like catching and punishing those who break the rules, we should be thinking about how to prevent those rule-breaking situations in the first place.
Exactly. And this isn't just some like pie-in-the-sky idea. There's growing evidence from all sorts of fields.
Okay.
You know, behavioral economics, organizational psychology, trust-based approaches, they could be incredibly effective.
So what does all of this mean for us?
Right.
Like as individuals, how do we take these research findings and turn them into like real-world action?
I think it starts with each of us examining like our own behaviors and our own assumptions. How often do we like extend trust to others? Especially those in positions of power.
Right.
Do we create environments
Yeah.
in our own little spheres of influence, right? Our
Right.
homes, our workplaces, our communities that actually encourage honesty
Right.
and integrity.
It's easy, right, to get caught up in this cycle
Yeah.
of cynicism and distrust, especially,
Especially these days.
right, in today's world. But this study, it reminds us that trust isn't like a finite resource. It's something we can cultivate
Yes.
and nurture. And the benefits can be far-reaching.
It's like a muscle, right? It gets stronger the more you use it.
I like that.
Yeah, the more we practice trusting others and, demonstrating our own trustworthiness, the more we contribute to creating a more ethical and harmonious society.
It really is amazing to think about, something as simple as like saying, I trust you.
Yeah.
It can have this ripple effect, even shaping a kid's like sense of right and wrong.
It really shows you the power, right, of our words and our actions.
Yeah.
Especially, when it comes to those young, impressionable minds.
All right.
It makes you wonder, right, if we see these effects in kindergarten classrooms,
Yeah.
what kind of impact could we have if we like took these principles to a larger scale?
I mean, you're talking societal change, right? Like shifting from this culture of suspicion to one where trust is the foundation.
Exactly. Think about all the challenges we're facing, right?
Right.
As a global society, climate change, political polarization, economic inequality.
Right.
These are huge, complex issues.
Yeah.
They demand cooperation and collaboration.
And that kind of collective action, it's pretty much impossible.
Oh yeah.
Without that baseline of trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we're constantly, second guessing each other's motives,
Right.
assuming the worst,
Yeah.
it just creates this downward spiral of distrust.
Right.
We end up stuck, unable to like tackle these big challenges effectively.
This research, it gives me like a little glimmer of hope. If we can see such powerful effects from like these simple acts of trust in kids,
Right.
imagine what we could achieve.
I know, it's exciting.
If we really prioritize it in all aspects of society.
It really is.
So where do we even begin? It feels, I don't know, a little overwhelming,
Right.
to think about like changing the world.
It does, but I think, it starts with each of us. We have the power
Okay.
to choose, right? How we approach our interactions,
Mm-hmm.
how we build relationships, how we contribute to our communities.
Yeah.
What if we all, we all made this conscious effort
Yeah.
to be like trust ambassadors?
I like that. What would that look like in practice? Give me an example.
Well, it could be as simple as, giving someone the benefit of the doubt,
Okay.
assuming good intentions,
Mm.
or looking for those opportunities
Mhm.
to collaborate instead of compete,
Mhm.
It's about creating spaces
Mm-hmm.
where honesty and integrity are actually valued and rewarded.
It's about recognizing that trust isn't a weakness.
No.
It's a strength. It's the bedrock
Absolutely.
of healthy relationships,
Yeah.
strong communities,
Yeah.
and a more just world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And building trust, it's an ongoing process, right? It's
Absolutely.
not a one and done. It requires like consistency,
Mhm.
transparency,
Yeah.
and a willingness
Yeah, for sure.
to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into,
Yeah.
this fascinating world
This really cool.
of trust and honesty,
Yeah.
I'm left with the sense of possibility.
You too.
This research has shown us that even the smallest acts of trust,
Mhm.
they can have a big impact.
They can. And
Yeah.
if a simple "I trust you" can make such a difference in a kindergarten classroom, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the transformative power
Mm,
of cultivating a culture of trust in our families,
right.
our workplaces,
Yeah.
our communities, our world.
It's a challenge worth embracing. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
We hope it's, sparked some new ideas and maybe inspired you to be a trust ambassador in your own life.